Africa vast, ancient, and full of riches for thousands of years. Powerful kingdoms like Mali, Benin, and Ethiopia thrived here. But in the late 1800s, the eyes of Europe turned south. What began as exploration soon became conquest. The so-called Scramble for Africa would redraw maps, destroy cultures, and create borders that still divide nations today. Before 1880, much of Africa remained independent. Only a few coastal colonies existed. Ports like Cape Town, or trading posts along the West African coast. But inside the continent, African empires ruled. The Ashanti in modern Ghana, the Zulu in southern Africa, and the Sokoto Caliphate in the north. European explorers like David Livingstone and Henry Morton Stanley journeyed inland, driven by curiosity, faith, and fame. But their reports of vast resources, gold, ivory, and fertile land, ignited something far greater than scientific interest. They sparked imperial ambition. By the late 19th century, Europe was changing fast. The Industrial Revolution had created a hunger for raw materials, copper, rubber, cotton, and minerals, and Africa seemed to hold them all. Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, and others raced to claim territory. But this was not simple colonization. It was competition for global power. Each empire feared that if they didn't act, a rival would seize it first. In 1871, Germany unified under Otto von Bismarck. The new empire wanted its place in the sun. Belgium's King Leopold II saw Africa as his personal opportunity, soon creating one of history's most brutal colonies, the Congo Free State. In 1884, the major European powers gathered in Berlin to divide Africa peacefully, at least among themselves. No African representatives were invited. For 3 months, diplomats drew lines across maps they barely understood. Rivers, mountains, and ethnic groups were ignored. The result was a continent carved up by straight lines, not cultures. Britain took Egypt, Sudan, and South Africa. France claimed vast stretches of West and Central Africa. Germany took East Africa and parts of Namibia. Belgium seized the Congo, a private colony where millions would die under forced labor. The Berlin Conference was the beginning of modern African borders, artificial boundaries that still fuel tension and conflict today. But Africa did not surrender quietly. Resistance movements erupted across the continent. The Zulu fought the British at the modest forces in Sudan defeated an Anglo-Egyptian army at Khartoum. In Ethiopia, Emperor Menelik II crushed the Italians at the Battle of Adwa. In 1896, the only major African victory against a European empire during this era. Still, Europe's military technology, rifles, machine guns, and steamships, gave it an overwhelming advantage. By 1914, 90% of Africa was under European control. Traditional economies collapsed. Millions were forced into labor. Cultural identities were suppressed. The colonizers claimed they were bringing civilization, but what they truly brought was exploitation. When the colonial empires finally retreated in the 20th century, they left behind borders that ignored tribes, languages, and faiths. Civil wars, ethnic tensions, and political instability often traced back to the Berlin lines drawn decades earlier. Yet, Africa's story is not only one of oppression, it's also one of resilience. From the ashes of colonization emerged independence movements from Ghana to Kenya to South Africa that redefined freedom in the 20th century. The Scramble for Africa reminds us that greed and empire can reshape the world, but so can resistance and unity. And so, the story of Africa's partition is not just history, it is a mirror, showing how power, ambition, and exploitation still echo across our world today. If you found this deep dive into history insightful, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Which empire do you think had the most lasting impact on Africa, and why?